Well, good morning, guys. Once again, it is I, the chairman, and I'm back with quite an update on physical media that I've gotten recently. And apologize for the sweat. I just finished riding the bike, watching Loki, and I gotta say it was pretty good. I liked it, but this is about physical media, and Loki isn't. So let's get on with what I have gotten recently. I actually wanted to finish up on with a thought on the the Severin animal films that I gotten as part of the Santa Sangre bundle. And I finished watching Day of the Animals, and Day of the Animals was pretty interesting in that it was up the stakes a bit from Grizzly. I mean, Grizzly is just there's one grizzly roaming around killing killing everything, but in the case of Day of the Animals, it's all of nature going crazy because of exposure to the ultraviolet radiation because of the depletion of the ozone layer. And apparently they came up with some reason that because it was above a certain altitude, therefore the air's thinner and the sun's rays are more effective, and somehow it created a virus in the animals. And so towards the end, I mean, it's killing everybody. There's only a few of the human survivors left, and then all of a sudden the animals die because something happens and like the virus kills them. So I mean, it was kind of a cop out in that way. So the humans don't really win, but the stakes are definitely a lot more desperate and definitely more violent than Grizzly. So I would say both Day of the Animals and Grizzly are movies that you can get individually if they're ever on sale from Severin or from one of the other distributors. Um, tried to watch Deep Blood, which is the third film, and this is from 1990. It was directed by Joe D'Amato, who's infamous for the Emmanuel films, and it's actually 1.33 to 1, and it doesn't look great. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but the thing that really is bad about this film, and I couldn't even finish watching it, was the acting. The acting is horrific. I mean, usually with these kind of exploitation films, these kind of like B grade, lower rent films, I mean, I can overlook the bad acting if there's other stuff going on, but yeah, this was just terrible. So I might finish it. I might fast forward it just to get to the good parts. So far, there hasn't been any, which is kind of surprising for a Joe D'Amato film. There hasn't been any nudity. I mean, come on, dude. But anyway, so yeah, I give this a pass if anyone's ever considering buying it. So then, what also did get in that I mentioned is the Django 4K set from Arrow, and as you can tell, it's a nice thick set here. Um, we have the we have the case, and it's with the 4K, and also the Blu-ray of the non-Django film. It's not part of the Django series, but it's kind of similar, and it does star Franco Nero, so it's called Texas Adios. And inside we have cards, like they usually throw in these Arrow sets. And this one, usually when they throw in a card like this, that means that this film is coming out. And I'm not sure if this actually did, because this might have been part of the Arrow Decades of Blood. I think it's called Decades of Blood, where they have 5 Italian crime films, and this is Come Cane Arrabbiati. Don't know this film, so I have to go back and look to see if this is one of that set, or if this is one that has yet to be released. And also we have lobby cards, and they're actually, I haven't even looked at these yet. So you got that. You got that. And then you have the book, which if anyone has seen Let's Get Physical Media, Rob has shown the book. I don't think he actually showed the poster yet, so here's the poster. poster. Overall, I gotta say that I wasn't super into this type of spaghetti western. I mean, obviously, I love the Leone, Clint Eastwood films as well as Once Upon a Time in the West. This one was definitely in the vein. I mean, it had everything that kind of was sort of similar to the Leone films. Obviously, also directed by Sergio Corbucci. They had a nice catchy song for Django in the beginning. The title song sung by a guy who's trying to sound like Elvis Presley. And at first, when you listen to it, it sounds like, wow, that sounds like Elvis Presley, but it isn't. But they're trying to go for that same kind of sound. And overall, it's definitely showing the main character Django as more of a romantic lead as opposed to Clint Eastwood, who's just kind of stolid and a loner, and you never see him in a relationship with a woman in the Man with No Name films. But in this case, yeah, you get the impression that he had a wife who died, and he's kind of carrying that around, that heartache. He meets his girl Maria. She's a prostitute who's kind of getting traded back and forth between both sides, and that's kind of what's driving his motivation here, is for revenge. And he comes off as the Franco Nero playing Django comes off as more of a hero. I mean, he's still got various anti-heroic aspects to him, but he definitely comes off more of a hero in the sense of wanting to do the right thing and stop the violence that's happening by, of course, killing hundreds of more people. And that's the other thing is about this kind of breed of spaghetti western, is the kind of unrealism about what happens. You have him taking a machine gun out and just mowing down guys, and then like the bodies just disappear. Like he's killing like 30, 40 guys, and that takes a lot of work to remove 30, 40 bodies of dead men, and he does it like 3 times. So, well, not he himself, but during points in the film, dozens and dozens of men are killed, and you kind of wonder, like, why are these guys like wanting to sign up for this business if you're just going to get mowed down like hay? But that's I guess that's the thing with the spaghetti westerns, is that you're not going in expecting realism, and I go in there not expecting realism or verisimilitude to the extent of other films. But if you're taking the machine gun into a bar and you're firing it, everybody in that bar is going to lose hearing for like days. But they don't, because obviously on a film set they're not actually firing a machine gun with that kind of sound. But was it like my favorite film that Arrow ever put out? No. Part of the reason was that I wanted to get it because it is Arrow. You kind of feel obligated to get these sets because they do such a good job putting it together, and you don't ever go wrong with their presentation. I mean, the film itself might not be everything that you're looking for, but you still get enjoyment out of just watching the 4K. And I think it's like 1.66 to 1, so it's not fully widescreen. And overall, it looked great. I mean, you could tell it was 1965. It was a mid-60s film, so it's not going to look super spectacular. But what I did get in also from the mid-60s that has recently been raved about is the Paramount presentation in 4K of My Fair Lady, directed by George Cukor, starring Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison. And this film, like everyone's been saying, is great looking in 4K, and it's a pretty simple set. I actually have the 4K in the player, so I don't have the disc, but there's not much to look at. But basically, this film was shot in Super Panavision 70mm, and therefore they were able to do an 8K scan and restoration. And the restoration was supervised by Robert A. Harris, whom if you're a film restoration fan. He individually, or he and his frequent partner James Katz, restored many of the classic films from the 50s and 60s, such as Rear Window, Vertigo, Spartacus. Those films have since been released in 4K by their respective studios. So yeah, I mean, it's a musical. It's an adaptation of a Broadway musical, which is an adaptation of the play Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. Um, it's definitely a film that I don't know if modern audiences will really get into because it is very musical. Is is It's very musically, um, in the sense that not just is there song and dance, and we still have musicals today, but I think that they're filmed and presented through a more modern lens, whereas this film is definitely of its time, and not only is it of its time, but it presents a kind of rose-colored and very filtered view of late Victorian era England, and there's no like poverty, there's no destitution, there's nothing negative in the film at all, other than just simply presenting the character of Eliza Doolittle as being, um, you know, working class, but she's not going around begging for food, starving. It's never presenting life as being terrible or horrible. So there's always that positivity, that enthusiasm that you kind of have to have with musicals. Musicals are by their very nature a positive genre. I mean, I've never seen really a depressing musical. So in that sense, you kind of go in with your expectations that, hey, this is a musical. You kind of have to calibrate your expectation to what a musical is going to be, especially one that's well over 50 years old. So that's My Fair Lady, and also what I got in from I had put an order in on Shameless Films from the UK as part of their bank holiday sale, which coincidentally was also Memorial Day here. And what I got a few films. Anna Biller's Viva. Now, Anna Biller's Viva is interesting because this is a modern film. I mean, fairly modern. It's 2007. She wrote, directed, edited this film, starred in it, obviously. And this film is kind of a takeoff on early 1970s kind of sexploitation, softcore films, and it's shot and presented in that aspect. So it kind of has, like the bad acting, like the bad lines, like the bad line readings, the corny script, even the dialogue, the way they record the dialogue, kind of sounded like. Oh, by the way, this is the inside cover as well. It kind of sounded like they were trying to copy the way that the dialogue was recorded back then. And then also I got Lucio Fulci's Beyond. Now see, this case is pretty cool because it's translucent, and what you get is that they actually intentionally put the disc in backwards so that when you look at it through the back, you have this cloudy view, and it's the view of the eye. And Lucio Fulci's Beyond, the Beyond was part of his, I guess, his zombie trilogy, along with Zombie itself, House by Cemetery. This film stars Katrina McCall. Oh, I'm sorry, City of Living Dead is in that series, and this film stars English actress Katrina McCall, who was in both City of Living Dead and House by the Cemetery, and was kind of Fulci's screen queen of that era, like late-ish 70s, early 80s. And then so what I got also was Baba Yaga. Now this is kind of they call it the Redux. Director Corrado Farina re-edited this film for Shameless. Now the normal theatrical version of this film is out there. I have seen it, I believe, on streaming, and you can also get the theatrical version on disc here. I forget who put it out, but but it's kind of the same way where you have the see-through. And I actually didn't I opened this one up first, and I was wondering, like, why did they put the film in the disc in backwards? But the idea is that when you have it backwards, then you just see this, like, the backside of the disc this way. And I guess you can actually reverse the. You can actually course the insert as well. So you got that. I got that. And let's see what else. Oh, and then finally I got one of Dario Argento's rare films. This one I don't believe is on disc in the U.S. Four Flies on Gray Velvet. And this is part of his Animals trilogy. So his first film, Bird with a Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, both those films which are coming out, which have come out on 4K or are coming out on 4K from Arrow. And this is the third one of that. And I don't know why this one is kind of rare and kind of hard to find, but it just was. So looking forward to watching that. And also, last but not least, I got from Sound of Vinyl, soundofvinyl.com, I actually had reward points for them, $7, and they had a 25% off sale. So I picked up Rush's Power Windows, and that's the back of that. And also Kiss's Destroyer, featuring Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, Great Expectations, Flaming Youth, Sweet Pain, Shout It Out Loud, Beth, and Do You Love Me? And kind of the idea that was going on with Kiss was that after Rock and Roll All Night, they were always looking for their next hit, their next chart topper to equal Rock and Roll All Night, and they never really found one. And they kept pushing different different songs on their subsequent releases. And Shout It Out Loud, I guess, was the song that they pushed as a single to kind of match Rock and Roll All Night in terms of popularity. But I mean, it's still a good album, but it's obviously not as good as you know, the compilation of, say, Alive or Alive Part 2, because the early Kiss albums were pretty thin in terms of production. They're also very short too, because they were putting out albums like every 9 months. So you know, you get maybe like 35 minutes total runtime on each album. So you kind of have to look at Kiss's early career as a totality and not each album individually, because each album is so short. You almost have to put two albums together to really to view them as like one complete unit. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff to watch through, and I'll be giving you guys reviews as I get through them. And until then, I will talk to you. See ya.